friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about our huge mess of a homeschool year. Okay, so when I've been thinking about our homeschool year this year, all I can think of is that it was a mess. It was just a mess. Not necessarily for negative reasons though, so I'll tell you about that. So I'm going to give you kind of my reflections, and then I'm going to review everything that we used this past year so you can hopefully have a little bit of help or inspiration planning your homeschool year next year. So the reasons that this past homeschool year was a mess. So I think the main thing is that this is just the season of life that we're in in our family. We're just in a season where we have a lot of very small children. My oldest child is 7, soon to be 8, and my youngest child right now is 1. So we have a lot of little people. All 3 of my boys are 2 years old and under. So it's just very busy around our home. We have a lot going on, and that's just part of why it was a mess. The other reason is that the past couple of years, we've been in the throes of foster care. We started caring for a baby boy in April of 2021, and we were just in everything that comes along with foster care. Then we started the adoption process during this school year. So there was a lot to do going on with that. And we did end up adopting him, our sweet Reed. So we are so thankful that that happened. That is a beautiful and wonderful thing. And sometimes homeschool things had to go by the wayside, and that was okay. Totally fine with that. What a blessing to have Reed as our adopted son and as part of our family officially. So the other reason that it was a little bit of a mess is that my husband Andy was working 2 jobs during this school year and was doing school full-time. So he ended up getting his degree, which is awesome. And right now he only has 1 job, so things are slowing down a lot. I'm so thankful for how hard he has worked for our family. I'm so thankful that he's able to only have 1 job now and that he finished his degree. Such an accomplishment. It's a wonderful thing, but it did make our homeschool year just a little bit more challenging, but for good reasons. So all of these things are good things, but they did make our homeschool year a little bit of a mess this year. But I'm okay with it. I'm thankful for our family. I'm thankful for all the accomplishments this year and everything that's happened. So it has been a good year overall. So now I'm going to get into the reviews. So our main curriculum that we use is from Simply Charlotte Mason. It's our main backbone curriculum, and we use that for history, Bible, and geography. And we use a few more of their things as well. But for our history, this year we were doing ancient Greece. And then for Bible, we're doing Joshua through Malachi. So we are not completely finished with anything today, but it's only April right now, and we school year round. We usually start finishing up a lot of our curricula in June or July, and so then we kind of restart our new stuff July or August typically, or sometimes September. So we're not all the way finished with anything, but we finished enough that I think I can give a pretty good review. So with ancient Greece this year, it's been very interesting. We learn a lot about the culture in ancient Greece. We've learned a lot about the history. The girls have held on to some of it, not a whole lot. There was one thing that made it a little bit difficult, I thought. Some of the Greek myths, they started getting it confused with, was that in the Bible or was that a Greek myth? So I was not excited about that. So we stopped reading a lot of the Greek myths. We focused more on the Bible, and we kind of just did mini lessons. So I kind of just altered a lot of the history lessons here, and we did some mini lessons about ancient Greece. We talked about Athens and Sparta. We talked about a lot of the history, but we talked about some of the important people in ancient Greece, like Socrates and we did a lot of that, but we didn't do everything that is listed in the curriculum. So there are 2 books for my children's age level in this curriculum that you read as living books. Those were our little Spartan cousin of long ago and our little Athenian cousin of long ago. We are almost finished with the Spartan one. We haven't started the Athenian one yet, but the Spartan one has been really good. It really does give you a good understanding of what life was like growing up in Sparta, in that city-state in ancient Greece. So those have been very good. Would definitely recommend those if you're learning about ancient Greece. And then our Bible lessons have focused on Joshua through like 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings. So we're still in 1st and 2nd Kings right now. When we got to King Solomon, we read some of his books, like we read some of the Proverbs, we read some of Ecclesiastes, a little bit of Song of Songs. So we did get to do that a little bit, and now we're headed into the Minor Prophets. So we haven't finished that yet, but the Bible curriculum has been great. Both years that we've done this, I've really enjoyed that. I love the girls getting to hear all the Bible stories and learn so much. It's been really awesome. And this Child's Story Bible by Catherine Voss, I cannot recommend this enough. This is absolutely wonderful. If there's anything that maybe you're having trouble explaining to the kids, or you just need to figure out a way to put it that's a little more understandable, this book is really, really helpful with that. So for anyone's Bible curriculum that they're doing, even if you're not using this one, I would highly, highly recommend this book. So the other thing that goes with our Bible curriculum are these then and now Bible maps. And this is really, really helpful also. So it shows you the Middle East and what it looked like in Bible times. And then you can put this layer on top of it that shows you what these countries are like now, the borders and everything. So you get a really good understanding of, you know, when this was, you know, what area this was in and everything. It's very good, very interesting. It even gives you the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, and the Persian Empire, and kind of the breakdown of those. So this is very helpful too for anyone, I think, that's doing a Bible curriculum. So that was really good. So overall, history and Bible have been pretty good. We've been way more consistent with Bible than with history, and that's fine. I'm fine with history just kind of being exposure for my kids right now. Once again, my oldest child is in 2nd grade, so if she doesn't grasp every bit of world history that we're learning, I think that's okay. It's mostly exposure right now. Okay, next is geography. This went a little by the wayside also, but we did visits to the Middle East. All of these geography curricula from Simply Charlotte Mason are wonderful. So they have lots of maps in here, which I went over all of this in my video where I was selecting curriculum, but they do maps, they do all kinds of these little like interview question type things, and you use a couple of really, really wonderful books for those. Those are Hungry Planet and Material World. These books are so wonderful. If you're doing geography with your family, even if you're not using this curriculum, these books are excellent. So Hungry Planet goes through different areas of the world, and it tells you about what a week's worth of food looks like there. And you get to see the family, you get to see what their food for the week looks like. It's just such an awesome book, and it even gives you some recipes in here, so you get to experience some of that with your family if you choose to. We didn't do any of that this year with like cooking anything from different countries in the Middle East or anything. I would love to do that. You could totally do that, and it would be awesome. I would love to enrich the curriculum that way by doing something like that, but this just wasn't the year for it. So also Material World, it's the same kind of thing, but it shows you all the possessions that the people have in different countries and what their house looks like, what it looks like, you know, where they live. So this is a really, really neat book too. So if you are learning about geography with your family, then you should definitely get this book also. So here's a family in Ethiopia. So anyway, these books are just so wonderful, and whenever we have a little bit more time to spend on geography, I would love to dive into these even more. I could look at these and just read through them all day because they're so interesting. The other thing that I added to our geography, which helped us a little bit, was this Children's Atlas of the World. This is by Weldon and Owen. So this was really a really good addition. I found it at our local used bookstore, and that was really great for this was really great for our geography. So it has a map of the Middle East, and it even gives you like what different areas are known for. So this was really good. This would be worth getting if you're looking for something like that. Okay, next, the Christian Heroes books. I have 5 of them. I was hoping to get through 3 of them this year, but we're almost through 1. So we've not been reading it consistently, but we're reading it enough that everyone remembers what's been happening. So we've been reading about Mary Slessor. It's been such a good story. She was a missionary in Africa. Very interesting. If you have Amazon Prime, look up Torchlighters. She has a Torchlighters episode that tells all of her story, or, you know, a lot of her story. The book goes into so much more detail and is really, really good, really worth reading. So we watch all of the Torchlighter episodes on the Lord's Day at home. We learn about different Christians and what they have done for the kingdom of God, and it's just such a wonderful thing to do as a family on the Lord's Day. That's where we found out about Mary Slessor. And so reading the book and hearing more of her story has been really good. So we're looking forward to finishing this. Okay, next is the favorite subject this year. So everyone's favorite subject this year has been science. Everyone has loved science. We're not finished with it again, but it has been so wonderful. We were using Master Books Science. This one is God's Design for Beginners. And by the for beginners, it means lower elementary school. So this is for kindergarten through 2nd grade. There's just a regular God's Design for Life. It doesn't have the for beginners. It's just God's Design for Life. That's for upper elementary school, like 3rd through 5th grade. And it's got the same units, just a little bit higher level. So this has been perfect for my kids. They are so excited to do science every day. They want to do multiple lessons a day sometimes. They've just really, really enjoyed science. So we got through the plant unit study, and we're currently on the human body unit study. After that, there's an animal one. So I'm hoping to finish that up this summer. That's the plan. They have really loved this science curriculum, so I would highly, highly recommend Master Books Science, especially for younger elementary kids. We're gonna try another Master Books Science next year, so I'm excited for that. I think the kids are really going to enjoy that again. The plan for this was to go to the library or buy some books that would enhance the lessons and make it more Charlotte Mason-y, like do some living books that go along with it. And we have a few books in our library that I used. Like we have one on the 5 senses, we have one on flowers, we have one on trees, we have one on the garden and plants, we have a few on seeds. So we did use some of those, but I wasn't able to get to the library, as you can imagine, to be able to get more of those living books to go along with this. But even if I hadn't gotten any living books or read anything alongside it, it didn't really need it. There was plenty there. The lessons were so fun and good, and the kids really understood things well, comprehended it. I couldn't believe how much they grasped It was surprising to me, and I learned a lot from it too. So I would highly, highly recommend this Master Books Science. This one is God's Design for Life. It was just excellent. So this was a huge hit. This was probably the biggest hit this year in our homeschool. Okay, next I'm going to talk about language arts and reading. So my first grader did the delightful reading. She finished that out. She did an excellent job. She flew right through it. And then she read through 2 of the pathway readers like this. These are so wonderful. I would also highly recommend these. They're really great readers. There are several of them, and they follow the same group of siblings. It's just a really good series, and I'm looking forward to using this again for my next child who's going into kindergarten. So once she's ready for it, we're going to do the same thing, the delightful reading, and then have her read these pathway readers. So that has just been a really good, really sweet spot for our homeschool, using the delightful reading curriculum to teach the kids to read, and then give them these pathway readers to help them practice with their reading. That has just worked so well. So I'm planning to continue with that. For my second grader, we were using learning language arts through literature, and this has been really good. It's got the readers that come along with it, but then also you get some real pieces of literature, real books that you can check out from the library or you can purchase. I purchased them used, and we read those also in this curriculum. It has everything. It has everything from grammar to spelling, all kinds of language arts subjects that go along with that. It has been excellent. It's a really good introduction to grammar. She's really grasped a lot. It's been just a little bit challenging for her because this is her first time with grammar lessons, but it has been really, really good. I would recommend it. It is kind of a lot of work some days. Sometimes it takes 30 minutes to get through a whole day's worth of work in this. There's a good bit of cutting things out and gluing things and writing, and there's a lot to do. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does take a little bit longer than maybe I expected at first. But it has been really good, and I think it's worth continuing on with and just dealing with the fact that this is going to be a 30-minute thing, you know, sometimes maybe even a little bit longer, and that's okay. It's worth it for her to get those good grammar lessons in. So I would definitely recommend this also, and I'm planning to do the next level next year. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is the Laying Down the Rails books, which is the habits curriculum from Simply Charlotte Mason. It's really wonderful. It's excellent. It teaches character to children. You focus on one character trait each week or however often you want to. It's really good, but we just didn't do it. We didn't do it this year. It's just something that fell by the wayside. Now, that's not to say that we don't teach our kids character. We do. In our disciplining of our children, we talk about which of God's commandments that they have broken. So we talk to them about their sin in that way. And then we talk to them about their need for Christ and the gospel. So just doing that in our parenting has really built in these character traits that we want to teach to our kids. So it's not like there's been no character training, there has been. It's just been more of a focus on God's law and their need for Christ. So I think it's been a good thing, even though we didn't get to do the Laying Down the Rails book. Maybe I'll bring it back again, but it just wasn't necessary this year, so it had to go by the wayside. Also, I wanted to talk about all of the handwriting books. All of those were really great. My older 2 girls, who are second grade and first grade, they flew through them, so they got through those really quickly. They finished those up. My little one, my preschooler, who's doing delightful handwriting, she is not finished with it, but she's very close. That has also been really great. That's also a sweet spot that I've taken everybody through, is delightful handwriting, to learn how to properly write letters, and that has really been excellent. So I plan to continue using that with my kids in the future. Okay, lastly, I wanted to talk about math. So we switched from Simply Charlotte Mason math over to Math UC. This is our second year doing MUS, and it is still a big hit. It has been wonderful. My children have learned so much, and I'm so thankful for MUS. I feel like it's giving them such a good foundation. They're understanding place value. I just highly, highly recommend it. The Simply Charlotte Mason math just wasn't for us. I have a video talking about why we switched math, so I can link that. But my preschooler did the primer, and this book looks, it's very reflective of what our homeschool year has been like. It's kind of beat up and, kind of a mess. So that reflects it. My first grader did alpha, and then my second grader did beta. And again, they're not all the way finished with these, but they've gotten through them enough that I felt like I could recommend them. They have been wonderful. All the lessons I've just been so impressed with what my children have been able to do with math. And now they're starting to understand the concept of multiplication, even though they're not to that level yet. It's kind of worked in where they're starting to understand groups of numbers together and how, just what multiplication is, just the concept of it. So I've just been so impressed with this curriculum, and I would really highly recommend it. They have math curricula all the way up through high school. So my plan right now is to stay on that train and keep using MUS for the foreseeable future. It has been that good, and I have that much confidence in it. It really is just such a wonderful math curriculum. Okay, so handicrafts. There has not been a lot of handicrafts or a lot of art in our homeschool this year, as you can imagine from what I've said, how much of a mess it's kind of been. But when we've had a chance, some Fridays, we call them Fun Fridays, we'll do a little bit of that. This last Friday, we picked some of the flowers from our garden, and I had all the girls do a watercolor painting of that. That was a lot of fun. So we sprinkle in a little bit of that here and there, but this school year was just not the year to do handicrafts every single week. And that's okay, we still had a great year. So overall, we've been having a great homeschool year. We're wrapping up this year. We don't have too much left with everything, but we homeschool year round. So I'm looking forward to our curricula next year and looking at what we'll be doing. A huge thing I've learned is to pare down even more in this season of life. I just love making all these fun plans. There's just so much you can do to enhance all of the lessons. There's so many fun things you can do, but just depending on what season of life you're in, you may not be able to do everything. That's really the season that we're in right now, and that's okay. So I've learned to be okay with that, to know that there are lots of years left in the future for all of the fun things, and to do even more and make our homeschool even better. So thanks for joining me today. Thanks for hanging out. I hope this was helpful in planning your upcoming school year, and I hope that you've had a great homeschool year this year also. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.